So, inspired by I Am Amish's recent video comparing the offhands and his conclusion that Estoc was indeed best stock, I decided I'd give it a shot in place of my usual hand axe. So yeah, that's the setup. Main hand Herald Curved Greatsword, offhand Estoc. And plot twist, not really a plot twist, it's really good. Not as good as offhand hand axe in an invasion context specifically, with a curved greatsword specifically. And I've got a few reasons for that opinion, a few pretty significant reasons. But setup is still super functional, and Estoc looks better than hand axe, that's for sure. This is one of my first invasions with the setup, just trying to get things figured out. It plays ever so slightly differently to hand axe, in that Estoc kind of isn't independent enough compared to hand axe. Even with the additional hit stun on Estoc, that makes it so incredibly synergistic with a greatsword due to the L2 R1 true combo. That same combo isn't true for Estoc and curved greatsword. So yeah, the main issue with Estoc as an offhand in an invasion context specifically is that it's just not enough of a good weapon on its own. I don't think I could ever invade with just an Estoc, whereas I think even with just a hand axe I could still win a lot of invasions. I'll put it this way. Herald and hand axe, they're a power couple. They are both really hot, they both have really good jobs, they are both super awesome and fun to be around, but they're even better together. Estoc is like, he's cool, but he's slightly clingy, he's dating out of his league, and he knows he's dating out of his league. Why would you ever put Herald with Estoc when she could be with hand axe? Herald and hand axe tend to share the workload equally, but Estoc kind of needs Herald to work a little extra hard to pick up his slack. So, why is the Estoc worse than hand axe in my opinion, with CGS specifically in an invasion context? Here's reason number one, and it is a big one, and there's nothing Estoc can really do about it. Reason number one is just pure AR. It's just a pure numbers game. The reason why AR is important in invasion is because of the ability to punish Estus. Both of these weapons have pretty comparable roll catches. Estoc catches people who roll backwards, just like straight backwards, better than hand axe does because it has greater range. But Estoc's straight hitbox suffers against people who roll horizontally or diagonally. But yeah, sometimes you don't need to roll catch somebody. Sometimes they're chugging just close enough to you that you can punish them with 2 R1s from a fast weapon, but not 2 R1s from the Herald. And this situation actually happens often enough in my experience that Estoc's lower damage really hurts it in an invasion context. Furthermore, when you do roll catch somebody with hand axe, it hurts significantly more than Estoc does. Add that to the ever so slightly lower poise damage that Estoc does, which means that they will be more likely to roll poise through your swing, and you've got a weapon that just isn't as good for roll catching or Estus punishing than hand axes. And those are two huge components of invasion PvP. Not nearly as vital in duels, considering there is, no Estus to punish, and any duelist worth their salt is going to work their ass off to prevent you from getting in their face with a fast weapon at all. Let's add in a few more weaknesses. Estoc doesn't do turn and burns as well as hand axe does, and doesn't handle a multi-man environment as well as hand axe does. Both of these weaknesses are again due to its very straight hitbox. Furthermore, Estoc bounces off of Perseverance, which is surprisingly prevalent in Gank City at meta level, whereas hand axe does not. This could obviously be mitigated just by invading at a different, less Perseverance heavy soul level or area. However, a lot of these weaknesses are also mitigated by pairing it with a greatsword instead of a curved greatsword. You get a better Estus punish because L2 R1 is a thing. You get better area control from the one-handed greatsword as well. Or even the two-handed greatsword. Two-handed greatswords have a strangely wide hitbox in my opinion. Estoc and Greatsword isn't as offensive of a build as CGS and Hand Axe is. It doesn't let you get in your opponent's face as well. But the mix-ups and burst damage potential is arguably even more potent. There are certainly things that Greatsword and Thrusting Sword does better than Curved Greatsword and Hand Axe to compensate for the build's decreased intimidation factor. The ability to get in someone's face and have them both scared to contest you and scared to roll. Greatsword's lack of one-handed hyper armor means that if you get in their face, they'll have absolutely no fear of just smacking you right in the face with a straight sword or dagger or whatever. Whereas CGS doesn't really share the same dilemma. They can make them respect your hyper armor, and then punish that respect by forced rolls with a fast weapon. Also, goddamn, these guys are fucking parry kings. I wish that heavy weapons had better grab boxes. Unfortunately, in the early days of Dark Souls 3, it made a lot of sense for them to have slower grab boxes, but now that Chaos Dagger does more damage anyway, the nerf really doesn't make sense anymore. Can't parry a plunge attack, son. So, despite it not being better than the Hand Axe, with Curved Greatsword specifically, in an invasion context specifically, Estoc and CGS is still a really, really good build. Really good. Totally viable in my opinion. Here's one thing it struggles against though. Ringed Knight paired Ultra Greatswords. These weapons are kind of the murky hand scythe of invasions in my opinion. Just fundamentally broken due to the shove hitbox that doesn't do any damage but still manages to combo into two L1s. Right there. There it is. I was watching a pretty tryhard streamer stream the other day, and he said, and I quote, he was using the Ring Knight paired Ultra Greatswords just for fun, and he said, and I quote, "You just can't be near these weapons ever." Also, here's another weakness of this build. Latent Murky Hand Scythe. That weapon is just fucking disgusting. Easily the most broken in the game. Katana hit stun on a dagger is just anathema to Dark Souls 3 PvP. And if it's latent, the only way to fight the Murky originally in the hands of a competent player, which this guy absolutely is to essentially space and punish it with an equally fast weapon. Curved Sword or Murky is basically your only answer. So I try and do that, but no, the latency is just too much. Turns this fight into a complete joke. Can't fight that shit. Still win this invasion though, despite getting my ass whipped up and down for the entire majority of it. Thank you, Lothric Knight Sword, two-handed R2. And thank you, Backstabs. Best wake up in the goddamn game. So, a lot of tryhard invaders, and even not tryhard invaders, have said this before, but I figure just in case you're watching this video and you're a new invader, this should also be said to you. Meta level Gank City is not a place to learn PvP. This is essentially the New Game Plus 7 challenge run version of invasions in Dark Souls 3, organized gank squads and all that shit. Go to like level 60, level 46 plus 6. That's a great way to learn your fundamentals, your basics, how people think in this game and how people play this game. Secondary statement: if you are going to invade Gank City, be a good co-invader. Actually try and help kill the gank squad. Don't be a double gold medalist using the Black Knight shield and the Ring Knight straight sword, who has decided to, for whatever reason, turn this from a potential 3v3 into, at minimum, a 4v2. Anyway, these guys are chasing me down pretty good, so I decided to peace and re-engage elsewhere. Turncoat Red does some pretty clever thing here. He shoots me off with a great bow. That's why I'm always wearing Silver Cat in the rafters. Arguably should be trying to swap to it midair, but just not worth it in my opinion. If I was better at swaps, then I would for sure be doing that. Swap to Greatsword because CGS just wasn't really working for the turn and burns. And also, you know, Estoc obviously pairs naturally with Greatsword. Just trying to space him out. Get my ass beat a little bit. Go for that risky hit, but it was worth it overall, I think. He goes for the parry here, and I'm finally able to put him to the blender for a bit. But unfortunately, he chugs and runs away. So we decide we'll just let him run away and we'll re-engage elsewhere. We swap back to CGS just because if we're going to 1v1 this guy, I think it's a better setup overall. So anyway, get plunged on and get the fuck out of my city. Always got to target the turncoat red first. Reason A is obviously that it just gets rid of one person in the world. But the more obvious reason is that it will allow you to get backup if he dies. More backup. Not that your backup will always be worth anything. Going for plunge attacks when there's a co-invader right there, and our other brain genius Aldrich drops down without wearing the cat ring. Yeah, co-invaders here tend to be kind of bad, which is why I'm continuing trying to promote this message that don't invade here if you're new. Aldrich goes for the plunge attack, even though I am literally right there in front of him. It works out because I hit that little ledge and do a weird little roll. But from here, Estoc just goes to some work. And then once I realize that I'm not going to be able to finish him off, I just let my idiot co-invaders go to work together. Dragon Slayer Great Axe Man just swinging without an absolute care in the world. We can't help him. Re-invade that same gang squad later that night. Get the plunge on the Phantom. Architecture kind of prevents me from punishing him harder and makes me take a little damage of my own. Luckily for me, they are in the process of clearing out the Silver Knights. There's an instance of where a hand axe turn and burn would have gotten me much more damage than what Estoc did due to its awkward hitbox. So we've got some PvE mop support at least. Not totally uncommon in Gank City, to be entirely honest, but if you do have mob support, it's usually the Silver Knights, which gank squads will either ignore down in the courtyard, or they will have cleared out beforehand. Or, you know, it's just the deacons, and they're just garbage. Accidental input for a kick there. But Estoc's pressure is keeping it good for us. Some sort of weird latency fuckery saves me there. And then our Silver Knight finishes the host off for us. Herald Man is not pleased. So where is Estoc way, way better than offhand hand axe? The answer is pretty much in dueling. Roll catching isn't nearly as important, and doing lots of damage isn't nearly as important. Burst damage isn't super vital in a duel, though top tier duelists can make use of it quite a bit. But yeah, Estoc's increased range makes it a way better spacing tool than hand axe ever is. Which means that you should really just be only ever rocking Estoc in a duel. It's basically superior to hand axe in every way except for damage. And damage is, again, not that important in a duel. Moveset is more important. This guy's also rocking an Estoc, just with Yorms. Get my tears popped super early through a series of very not clever trades. But then he goes for 3 R1s, or L2s, I guess. I can really start to punish. Don't ever feel obligated to duel in a, if you've invaded at least. If you're a red sign summoned, you probably should. But for whatever reason, I felt obligated to do it today. Catch him by surprise. Didn't really go for the second R1 because I was afraid that, again, much like Turn and Burns, it wouldn't combo properly. And since I've been playing super passively, he just got caught by a running R1 that he did not expect. But yeah, for the most part, I think that hand axe is just better with a curved greatsword and invasions. Estoc and hand axe are maybe comparable when paired with a greatsword. For the most part, the increased damage on roll catches and Estus punishes is just so worth it on hand axe. Anyway, I don't know. I'll be rocking hand axe from here on out, I think. Thanks for watching, y'all. See you later. Keep it silly.